Hey guys, it's susctopus here. I'm still on this iceberg. Nothing really new. You know, I kinda like being alone here. Less people to worry about talking to. Kinda makes me think a little better about life instead of being pessimistic all the time. Oh shit, another war. I've always been lurking under the shadows of the Kickin fandom, aka not being in the wiki server. But now is better than ever to just hide in my own rock, while the fandom destroys and eventually heals itself. I probably can make things better, but I'm just afraid of displeasing them. Some of these people are so cool and interesting, and then I just spit out some random schizo stuff, and out of all things they get mad that I say skibbity. They probably don't even like me anyway. Okay, I can't just sit on my ass playing Mario Sunshine again. You guys probably don't want to hear me complaining that I can't finish the Grey Garden video again. Oh my god, is this what kinning is? I'm gonna milk the fuck out of Shirogane and Yukisada Nidate. Maybe squeeze like an hour out of this. Wait, I realized what I just said. Funamusea and her community have been in a chaotic state for a while. Ever since the waves of controversies, the status of her works have largely been unknown. Some projects have been confirmed to still be worked on, while others are completely in the air whether they are still going to exist or not. Will a project ever be released anytime soon? We'll just have to hope so. Her release works have been influential to people that have come across them. Mogeko Castle being crazy, dark and twisted, having such a unique personality unlike any other RPG maker horror game at the time. The Grey Garden introducing so many characters to the franchise, some of them being the most recognizable to people with the characters themselves appearing in other works, expanding on their lore and traits as time goes on. Watanohara and the Great Blue Sea creating such a strong atmosphere and a story that pulls the emotional strings on so many people. Other projects with different forms of media that Funa has experimented with that fans have fallen in love with over the years. And it sucks that it has just ended there! So many projects that have been teased that people have been anticipating for a decade have been stuck in development hell for all this time. Some that are nearly finished but just... Ice Cream, however, is a project that is officially released and unfinished. Something that you can download right now. Characters that have no progression at all, since they are stuck in the chapters that they are introduced in. A world that has been stuck in place for years. I mean, yeah, Idate is a major character in this, who I know most people recognize him from other games. But other than a Tumblr sexy man that smokes Newports and beats the shit out of Samakichi, the only other hints of character that he or any other character in this case are from the blessings of Funamusea's doodles. Like what, he has a whale that's gay for him? The main question of all this is, what happened? All of these titles have a very unknown development process. Most people don't know when projects are conceived, when characters were first drawn, really anything other than after the release. You know, as many times as I ask for information and get directed to the wiki, I'm never gonna know what day Ice Cream released. Fuck! So, looking at the information that I collected, this is the oldest public doodle of any Ice Cream character. I assume that the doodles are sorted by date. The character sheet is probably a similar case as well. This doodle was made around these doodles, which can be found on the Funamusea website back in 2009, so I'd say the conception of Ice Cream was around 2009 to 2010. No image related to Ice Cream has had an official date attached to it until August 18, 2012, and the first drawing to have most of the characters together was posted on September 1st, featuring more than half the cast. In 2013, more and more drawings of the cast were being posted online. At around this time, Watanohara was still being worked on, so the priority of Ice Cream was probably off to the side up until Watanohara's release. But Idate makes an appearance in the game, simply called Orca at the time. His name was actually used in a few early versions of the game, most likely as a mistake as it was fixed in later versions. A scene that leads into the story of Ice Cream is found in the bonus room of Watanohara as well. More on that later. By 2014, the project was shaping to be more and more like the release, now with an image of all the characters with a description. Idate by this point has gotten his name, which is cool. There have been more drawings made of the cast which reveal more of their personality, and all of them even have an appearance in the Mogeko Castle remake. In one of the rooms on floor 3, there's a TV showing the Ice Cream characters in a glorious 480p. I found out that the RPG Maker 2000 games were all natively in 240p, I've been fucking lied to. More drawings have been made up to the official release in July 2014. So are you telling me no one knows the exact day this was released? Look, I don't even know what's correct because the closest I could find to July is a link on the front page, dated August 22nd. So if no one could find an exact date, I'm just gonna say the game was released on August 22nd, 2014. Throughout the rest of 2014 and 2015, the game had been receiving new chapters and translations, with an English one being added by the end of 2014 through VG Person. An animation that takes place in the story was also added, with some of them being posted to the YouTube channel, being some of the first videos she had posted for it. And while Funa had moved on to other projects and still drew the characters, the story had been just left in the dust. Wait, what? What about Adobe Flash? Adobe had announced that they were going to discontinue Flash support across all browsers by the end of 2020. This started a movement to archive as many projects made in Flash as possible, with most of them being preserved through Flashpoint. But Funa had other plans for her projects made with Flash. Most of them were uploaded to her channel by that point, but with Ice Cream being made in Flash, I think. Well, you can still play the original today, so I actually don't know if it is, but still. The entire project had been moved to RPG Maker, specifically RPG Maker MV. This is the only game to have the MV engine by this point, as all of the others used older versions. On June 27, 2020, the remake had officially replaced the original version, restarting from Chapter 1. A few translations have been made, including an English translation made by Yao being made a day after release. Oh. I may have possession of lost media. Did you know Funa named her dog Shirogane in her Minecraft streams? But now that it's been remade, surely there's gonna be more chapters in the works. You know, maybe, since Funamusea is back at it again with making games and being active, maybe there is finally gonna be a brand new project. There's a new Hashhaski trailer, and she had mentioned that the game is nearly finished. We are finally gonna get the community out of the trenches, and I will blow up on YouTube! This is the last project that Funa had officially released. At least we got an English translation for Ice Cream. I'm still waiting for the Wadanohara reboot translation. So there are two official versions of Ice Cream. The Flash one from 2014 and the 2020 remake. These two are so similarly different, and you can see the progression of Funa's art style from two different points in time, 6 years apart. I'm gonna cover the original version and see how it changes with the remake, just to see how far we have come. The original Ice Cream is an interesting piece of Okega media. It is one of the only projects that strays the furthest from being an actual game while still acting like one. I know that any piece of Funamusea media is more of a story than a game at the end of the day, but if you could even call this a game, this by far has the most animation put into it, which is something that Funa started to move to during this time. Like I said earlier, this game can be accessed through normal means. No Wayback Machine needed, just access VG Person's Ice Cream page, and it's still intact. I thought this was made off of Flash until I realized that most of the screens are just GIFs that have designated areas to click on. The story is more like an interactive point and click, not even clicking most of the time. Most of the arrows that you hover over show text on a box right on top of the window. You use the arrows to navigate around and observe various spots on the island. Different chapters have different pages, and with each spot, there is something different that happens most of the time. Round 0. Now, this game's plot actually starts back in Wadanohara in the Great Blue Sea. In one of the scenes of the bonus room, it features that one giant squid that you fight during the game, landing on a mysterious iceberg. Round 1. Version 1 was the version to launch with the story. He's such a coward of a wolf. They speak, behind his back, of the wolf boy Shirogane. He's more cowardly and weak than anyone. Even with the encouragement of his kind friend, his heart is forever full of sorrow. Once more, his icy scream echoes across the Iceberg Isle. This is Iceberg Isle. It is in the same world as the Blue Sea, but at a far unknown location. Its inhabitants are very few, only having around a population of 14 people that are shown. Some main points of interest are the village, a few houses that lie outside of the village, the summit, the Orca danger zone, and a boat. It seems as if it is pretty much impossible for people to leave, as it is mentioned that hardly anyone uses the boat due to the quote-unquote danger of Orca attacks. In this round, the areas are mostly shown off as an introduction, and basically viewing a normal day in the Isle, with the characters and their usual daily activities. Starting in this house, we see two characters sitting at a table, having a cup of tea. One is seen crying, while the other desperately tries to comfort them. This is Shirogane. The protagonist of the story, a cowardly wolf, our hero, a slow-witted weakling crybaby, screams easily. Wait, oh my god, it's the channel icon! He is currently at the house of his friend, Yukisada, a sweets-loving owl, Shirogane's best friend, a good-natured youth. Yukisada is usually nice to everyone on the island, trying to avoid any conflict with anyone, but is frequently seen being around caring for Shiro, being very supportive of him. Looking around the house, he seems to be very clean and tidy, mostly possessing objects essential to him, like a scale that he keeps around to watch his weight since he likes eating sweets. Near Yukisada's house is one of his neighbors, Parako, a carefree penguin, very lucky. Like, walk into a casino, see Mr. Beast at the casino, he offers you $10 million if you compete in his challenge, win the grand prize, make an exposed video right after and profit off of Mr. Beast's downfall, and make a living off of it? That kinda lucky? Parako goes down to be one of the more undiscussed characters. As of the rounds that are out currently, she holds little importance to the plot, only having a few lines of dialogue. At around this time, Parako is seen watching TV, pondering the difference between an orca and a forca and a storka. Parako's siblings are sleeping in the bed nearby, being some of the few characters that don't have a character description. They are her younger brothers, and all have names starting with Para, just like her. They are some of the only other people who get along with Shiro pretty well, as they are innocent children. Something that doesn't happen in any of the games that Funa herself mentions is that they once asked Shiro to draw a dog for them, to which he drew this. He worked on this for 30 minutes. Also in the village is Suno, a handsome snowman, falls apart easily. It is heavily emphasized on how fragile he is, but he is the island's biggest dickhead, so maybe that just means how many times he's been blasted apart.
Yanking Shirogane's tail sure is fun. You should give it a shot. He shrieks in pain all like Hey, subscribe to Trollmoney,
I want to see him in the desert. Moving on up the village, we go to Rockma Mafuyu's house. At the front we see an ermine in deep thought, and when we check inside the house, we see Rockma Mafuyu playing together. A scary polar bear. Don't make her angry. Rockma is one of the more independent residents of Iceberg Isle, being harsh to the majority of the people on the island. However, on a nicer side of her, she is a parental guardian for Mafuyu, a young seal, soft. It is unknown where Mafuyu had come from, but she arrived at the isle lost when Rockma decided to take care of her. Furthest house from the village is Rock's house, where he is just chilling on his couch. A short-tempered penguin, fishes as a hobby, always at odds with orcas. The yellow is his decorative feathers, and he will get mad if referred to as eyebrows. He does have a humanoid form, but would rather stay in his animal form. His first appearance was back in Wadanohara, as he went to fix up Squid upon his arrival at Iceberg Isle, to which he just chills by his house doing essentially nothing for all the story so far. But other than that, he is also the only friend of the antagonist of the isle, Idate, located nearby in the Orca Danger Zone. Oh yeah, this is the part where we talk about Idate. Orca with a consistent cigarette smell, a bad guy who attacks the isle's inhabitants, has a particular fixation on Rockma. Idate is by far the most documented character from the cast of Ice Cream, and Okegam's biggest Tumblr sexy man, playing a big part in not one, but two stories. His connections are so wide that he is even on mutual terms with Satanic, Deep Sea Universe's most infamous devil, and Okegam's most documented character. There are even claims that Idate has distant demon blood mixed in him as well. You can never see him without a cigarette, as he is severely addicted to nicotine, since he gets severe withdrawals if he runs out. Even though he is a sea animal that travels through water, he somehow has waterproof cigarettes. How the fuck does that even exist? He also drinks a lot as well. Man, maybe I need to see what all the hype is about for smoking. I want to have as much aura as him. Dude, okay, you're literally the embodiment of Idate, bro. I can't talk to you. I can't talk to you. No, oh my god, okay, no, dude, okay, dude, okay.
Are you lit?
Oh no, fuck, I think I'm Idate now, fuck this shit, bro, fuck this.
You should not stop smoking, you're coughing like an
I'm addicted to nicotine.
chain-smoking orca.
Stop! Stop!
He's 20 years old.
What? Wait, Idate has an actual age? Wait, hold
He is
up.
20. He's not 5'11". He's 6'1".
Who is the... Wait, who is the... What is this information from?
God, I don't even know. Naruto World. Oh, wrong character. I don't even know. Well, here's from Funamusea. They don't got an age, but how long do orcas live?
Wait, Idate's 6'1"?
Yeah. No, 6'2".
Wait, what height are you?
About 6'2".
I'm running, bro. I'm running.
Orcas are the single biggest problem with the Isle, being the main reason why no one is seen leaving. Idate frequently beats up the Isle's residents, and probably would automatically if one resident decided to leave, enough to convince them not to. Idate had originally planned to have a house there, but the Isle's owner would ban him from doing so from beating up the residents. Many would fear and hate him and his antics, but by far the most hatred for him has got to be from Rakma. She is Idate's main love interest, with the feelings being one-sided, but her rejection only fuels his interest in her even more, wanting to win her over by pure power. Rakma is one of the only residents that could actually take on Idate, being seen capable of beating him up as much as he could with her. Can I just say, I know Idate is grouped in with the rapists of Okegum because his similar personalities and his Tumblr sexy man status, but has Idate actually molested anyone before? Maybe the closest that he has done is eat Watanohara in one of the bad endings, but I assume that meant, like, in a carnivorous way. Tatsumiya, if done anything with her, it looks pretty consensual. With Rakma? That was a commission. Even though Idate wants Rakma and would possibly be a scenario that actually happens, I don't think there are any canon drawings of him doing that to her. I don't want to sound like an Idate apologist, I just want to prove the sexual assault allegations, because it would be really surprising if he would actually beat them. It would be rare for a character like this to have a clean slate, and maybe Funa would go somewhere with this. It's on the wiki, isn't it? Fuck! Fucking shit! Okay, so apparently he raped Shirogane. No wonder why he fears him so much. So cut him some fucking slack. But at the same time, where the fuck does this happen? There are no sources on the wiki page that cite this. I have looked through both games, all of the drawings, and even looked at the stream archives. The only thing I could come out of this was a commission, and a Deep Sea Academy AU where it is mentioned that Shiro lost his rear virginity. That's an alternate universe. It doesn't prove that it happens in the main timeline. If there's no proof to this, then the wiki is wrong. Yes, that's right, I'm contesting against the wiki on this. Sorry, the word of God isn't enough to make me believe that he's a rapist. I don't think everything that Funa says on stream should be taken as fact. I know there's at least dozens of facts that Funa would be inconsistent on. There's no way she keeps track of all that live for multiple hours, once or twice a week for 4 years. I would know. I am a streamer that comes up with random bullshit information on the spot too. But at the end of the day, yeah, Idate would rape someone though, that's not surprising. Maybe there is a reason Funa has yet to make it canon. Maybe a future story will reveal something that we don't know. I would be very, very surprised if Idate beats these sexual assault allegations. But who the fuck cares? I swear, why are they always such an asshole to me? I legitimately think I'm blacklisted. I really think they want me out of the community. I just want to stop making this fucking video.
So, I'm gonna voice this next round. Howdy everyone, it's me, Moral E. The only thing left about this part is that there's a bunny sleeping in the boat area. Yep. Version 2 was released on November 29th, 2014, and since round 1, various characters are in different locations, different things that they say, and new locations to go to. Some lines change in different areas, one mentioning that Yuki can cook a good clam chowder, another mentioning that the mysterious flower in Parako's house is rumored to move at night, another in Rock's house saying that the swords on his wall come off for fights, apparently. Over at Rockma's house, Parako and her brothers can be seen playing with Mifuyu riding a sled. Parako offers Rockma to join, but she boldly refuses. Suno can be seen cooking yakiniku with presumably the same bunny from the last chapter. They apparently also have the name Usako. I don't think Suno could take the heat so well, however. Suno's here. He'll melt soon. He should melt soon. Adate is in his usual place blackening his lungs, but we do get a cameo from Nikuyama from Watanohara, being seen delivering more ciggies to Adate. Squid is doing squid things. Near Rockma's house, he and Yukisara are seen talking while he is fishing. Rock apparently had said something that made Shirogane cry, which he can be seen going into town. The town is empty with all of the residents doing outside activities, but a new arrow shows up at a cave in the background. We go inside and see two tunnels, one saying that leads underground, which cannot be accessible even in the other chapters. The other leads to Shiro crying in his sleep in some sort of bed. Shiro actually lives at Yuki's house, but he for some reason went to the cave to presumably hide from everyone. We can guess that this is a regular spot since there is some sort of bench or bed thing built in this room. A key difference in this round is that there's an actual scene of the game that you can play, I think. I don't know if it did this back then, but the website just spits out the scene onto your computer as a flash file. You can actually still play the file if you have Adobe Flash Player on your computer, or you could just watch the YouTube version. The cutscene starts off showing the empty town again, and then transitions to the front of the cave with Yukisari standing there. He asks Shiro if he's okay, trying to cheer him up. Initially there was no reply, until Shiro apologizes and tells Yuki to leave him alone. Yuki hesitantly tries to say something, but is interrupted by Shiro repeating the same thing. Yuki then leaves, looking back at the cave one more time before walking away. Over in the cave, Shiro, still in bed, is wide awake, muttering to himself that he's hopeless, before, well, this place. Yep. Hey, susctopus. I did the second round for you. Are you okay in there?
I'm so full,
I'd never stick my pickaxe in an underage flopper, screams P. Gritty.
If Shirogane was raped, why would people still pick on him? Like, damn, give him a fucking break. If that actually happened, I'm sure they would act more sympathetic towards him, dumbass or not. Boom, debunked. Idate is not a rapist. Round 3 was released on March 4, 2015, which included new cutscenes and events. Squid is flailing violently. Going to Rock's house, you can see multiple bunnies allegedly trying to ask Rock the best way to lynch an orca. No one is home at Rockma's house since Rockma is all the way on top of the summit, seeming to be watching for something. Of course she'll get mad if you touch that. That's her ass. I'm touching it anyway. Idate seems to be up to something as well, plotting something. No one can be found in the village again, but if you go to the place where Shirogane was in last round, you can see a bunny sleeping there. A bun is feigning sleep here. You should leave this place immediately. What does this even mean? Like, what? Is there like a jump scare that's supposed to happen? This is just a fucking looping gif. I think it's just bluffing. You can't tell me what to do. Wait, what? I can't fucking believe this. Yukisada and Suno could be seen near the boat, looking like something had just happened. Going over to a new part of the isle, Parako, her brothers, and Mufuyu are all at this newly built igloo that Parako's brothers had built. More evidence that something happened. Shiryu had run there to hide, with everyone else getting mad at him for besieging it. Except Mufuyu, she doesn't understand anything. A tale that's fun to step on. But we get to download another cutscene of what events took place prior. Playing it, we see Shiro and Yuki having a conversation. Shiro plans to get on the boat, taking Yuki with him. It is unknown exactly what he was trying to do with the boat, probably to escape the isle, most likely because he is just fed up being ridiculed. Yuki tells him that it probably isn't a good idea to be on the boat. If a he comes, they're fucked. Shiro brushes it off when suddenly, someone else joins in on the conversation unexpectedly. Rockma just walks in just to trash talk on their plan, and then walks away. Shiro obviously takes it personally, while Yuki tries to brush it off for him. When suddenly, Suno pops in out of nowhere just to shit on him as well. I swear on my life some of you people online talk like this. Suno does the most to get under his skin, and Shiro breaks down and runs away, assuming that he ran into the igloo. Suno claims that Yuki is too easy on Shiro, and that a little teasing could do the trick. Yuki does try to think of something to reply back with, but it's just constantly interrupted by Suno saying things like, "Yeah, you know it's true." I would punt him. While we are on the third round, we are only seemingly at the beginning of the story, other than knowing the daily lives of the inhabitants of the iceberg, and Shiro constantly being shit on by most of the people on the island. We don't really seem to have a conflict yet. While there is obviously something brewing in the background, we would have to wait up until round 4 for that, and there hasn't been a round 4 for almost a decade. Yes, this is the last round that was ever made for Ice Cream up to this video. It's kinda unclear whether or not Funa was supposed to release another round, since there wasn't ever a sign that she was gonna stop. Maybe her being hit by a car had something to do with the progress, since May 22nd, 2015 was the day she was hospitalized, and had to make a Twitter account for updates, since she couldn't have access to her website. It was unspecified all the way up until 2022, when she jokingly made a tweet for her 7-year anniversary on Twitter, saying she was hit by a car. Apparently, it was so bad that she almost died from it, but thankfully she survived. Apparently, she was hospitalized again on August 28. This time, I don't know why. There was only one page that had this tweet and was never mentioned again. 2015 must have been a hard year for her. But still, there were no signs that she was gonna stop making rounds for ice cream. Maybe it was just forgotten by her, she was probably focusing on bigger things and she's just done with it. Which is what I would say if I was a fucking dumbass! Wait, what? This is an animation made for ice cream, released somewhere around round 2 and round 3. One of the only 2 titles to ever receive an official animation. It was originally shown off as a flash animation up on the Ice Cream website, but made it to the YouTube channel on June 23, 2016, originally titled Violence Classroom of Killer Whale Teacher 1. This is by far the definitive way to view this video, as it is one of the only ways to view it. And there's also a full translation in the subtitles, I think provided by VG Person. Or maybe Yao? I don't know. The original page has been taken down, probably since the existence of the remake. But I managed to get a hold of the original flash file, having an infinite resolution. Still, it isn't the definitive way to view the video, as there's no translation for it, but still cool nonetheless. So let's take a look at the actual video. Educational Program on Abuse by Siachi Sensei 1. Violence is the best entertainment. I know, right? First lesson, the invisible beatings. We are greeted by our hosts, Mogeko, who is a Mogeko with a weird haircut, and Tori-san, a mascot used to represent Funamusea before the first appearances of the ghost. Idate is the teacher demonstrating examples of violence. Idate doesn't have a voice actor, so he kinda just sit in silence every time he talks. It's kinda like old SMG4, when SMG4 talks and it's just kinda silent, and then Mario's just like... The video kinda mimics Japanese TV, where the format is similar to a demonstrational interview of some educational topic. You can see that this does take place on Iceberg Isle, so this building is supposed to be located somewhere. Idate talks about what he's gonna do, starting off with the basics. Specifically, the infliction of pain from outside the victim, who is trapped in a confined space. Capture. Grab the victim, put it in a large bag, and hang it. Alright, got it. Leave the victim in a confined space for a long time. This will help increase stress, which will do the trick.
I'm thinking sex and I'm clear.
So here's what I've prepared. This time the victim is Loser Dog-kun. What the fuck? It was supposed to be hung like that? It's best to leave him alone for as long as possible. Yes, it would be good to leave the victim by himself for 2 to 3 hours. I got molested. So the demonstration continues. Idate is shown with the club. He says he doesn't often resort to violence with weapons, which could imply that he rapes them. I'd rather believe that Idate curb stomps his victims if anything. He then starts teasing Shiro before beating him up. Good children never do this. Violence is a crime. Thank God this disclaimer is here. Us Funamusea fans would have never gotten the hint. It then cuts back to the original set, with Tori-san tweaking really hard for some reason. Mogeko wraps up the video, with Idate saying that the next time he will be teaching more deliciousness. Yes, there's a heavy implication that this was going to be a multi-part series. I'm not really sure if this is ever going to be picked up again, since Funamusea's art style has changed so much over the last decade, that it would be very weird to see a second part and how different it's going to be compared to this one. For example, Ice Cream 2020 is basically just a port of the original Ice Cream into RPG Maker. Now you can say that it's technically a game. This is the version currently available on the website. Despite having translations for this game, the links to them were removed off the page as of November 5th of this year. I mean, every story page no longer has translation links, so I think it's just over for us. The translation links still exist and you can still download them, all except for the English translation. I can only assume because of the recent controversies and such, Yao had taken the link down. I'm not actually sure if Yao still translates for Funa, but just in case something happened, I don't want to find out. Despite not being able to download the English version, I am terminally online and I still have my copy. I have lost media. What do you have? The game starts off with a proper title screen, and a calm piano melody, a melody that will be played in the chapter menu, and while looking around the island. Basically 80% of the game. A cutscene plays when you start the game. Afar, far away, on the other side of the sea, there is a freezing ocean that not even demons will approach. Nothing can be seen on the horizon, but a quiet world of only snow and ice. There floats a lonely, solitary island. They refer to that island as Iceberg Isle. On Iceberg Isle, there were some who lived quiet lives, unbothered by the freezing cold. Let us take a peek into the lives of those people. The game automatically drops us on the island for the first time playing, welcoming us and encouraging us to look around. It then takes us to the menu, telling us to look at the watch 1 before doing whatever we want. Well, fuck you, game, I'm not listening to you! Each time you click, snow comes out of your cursor. In the menu, if you click on the question mark, it brings up a play guide for good children. What happens if I'm a bad child? Here's a short description of how the game works. The back icon goes back to the menu, the list icon brings up the update history and the trophies page, the 3 dots brings up the special thanks, and the star brings up a link to Funa's websites. The options on the bottom are menus you can go to look at the stuff you collected or events that you can watch back. I've stalled enough time. Let's just get into the game already. We're back on the island, having the same look as the original. Most of the sprites of the map look identical, or have very small changes. More shading is added to some of the close-ups, rock looks more darker in the remake. We start to see how the art style changes within 6 years. They made Idate anorexic. Watch 1 is basically the same layout as Round 1 in the original. Most of the text basically says the same thing, with a few extra details put into the remake. There's a phone that's added to Parako's house, confirming the existence of Parako's dad.
Orcas, orchids, and orchards. What is about them that makes them different? Their color or something?
Apparently instead of an ermine, it's a stoat now. There's a box of oranges in front of Rockman's house that you can collect as an item. They are apparently her favorite, and apparently it's supposed to be a secret. Yes, there's a new mechanic in the game where you can click around and collect various items. Collecting these gives some extra insight behind the characters that are usually seen around them. There are only 4 items in the game, however, likely having more in later chapters. A stuffed bear can also be collected. This is Mafuyu's treasure. There's apparently an antenna somewhere on the island to where Rock's radio can pick up a signal. Rock likes listening to bloody radio, which is something we get to see in other games. Since this is hosted by Met, someone from Ni no Kuni, assuming that this is the faraway city that they're talking about, does this mean that Ni no Kuni and the sea exist in the same world? This is the only time where someone is actually listening to the show. So are the antennas actually within reachable distance of each other? Or can the waves just somehow travel between worlds? The wiki has no source for the confirmation. Okay, there's a heavy implication that they are in the same world, but damn, how do these worlds even work? This will probably be a separate video. For some reason, the Orca danger zone is flipped. Idate is anorexic. I see a lot of people who complain about Funamusea in recent years use this point to say, wow, I miss the old style. Funamusea fell off. To which I say, you draw the characters then. The proportions have gotten better in a lot of cases since then, so fuck you. As much as I kinda miss the old art style, it's still Funamusea by the end of the day. My ADHD ass brain will still go nuts over it. You can pick up a used SIG that reveals that Idate litters, with him getting away with it on an isolated island, but not being able to get away with it downtown on the Devil's Castle, potentially being whisked away by a demon police officer, and suffering the most terrifying punishment one could ever dream of. I can only wonder what that can refer to. The only thing left to do is to check out the cutscene that plays when we get to Yukisada's house. On one particular mid-afternoon, the timid wolf Shirogane and the kind-hearted young owl Yukisada were drinking hot cocoa and taking a rest. We get to see the conversation between the two in the cutscene, hearing that Rock and Paraka were making fun of Shiro again. Yuki tries to comfort him, while Shiro continues belittling himself. As they drink their hot cocoa, a flashback of the incident happens in Shiro's mind, along with other unmentioned events that happen, like him encountering Idate and getting beaten up, Rockma further belittling him after not landing a single kick on Idate, Suno teasing him until Shiro beheads him with a shovel, and collapses on the ground where Mafuyu and Paraka's brothers don't understand what had happened. It then cuts to Yuki standing outside a cave where Shiro ran off to hide in. Yuki tries to think of something to make him feel better, while Shiro just wants to be left alone, and eventually Yuki walks away, looking back for a second before taking off. After the cutscene plays, the layout of the house changes a little, with Yuki now sitting alone in the house, feeling down. You can pick up a feather that's laying on the ground, revealing that before these feathers were plucked by an orca. Outside, a new arrow shows up at the entrance of the cave, telling us that Shiro's crying can be heard from within. Going back to the menu, you can see that the options from earlier are filled out with the cutscenes we just watched and the items that we just collected. On the characters page, you can see that the descriptions have changed since the original version. A pessimistic wolf with a touch of depression. He's always feeling down and has no self-confidence. He lives rent-free in Yukisada's house. Now that I think of it, is there even a housing market on Iceberg Isle? Is there even currency here? The whole island makes fun of him because he's such a weakling. He is a bit of a pitiful man. A kind-hearted owl. He helps care for the island's injured and ill residents. His childhood friend Shirogane is always on his mind. Supposedly he has a brother with a polar opposite personality. More on that later. A penguin who is free and fickle. Her father is apparently a friend of Rock's. Although there are times that she messes with Shirogane, she does actually worry about him a bit. She lives on Iceberg Isle along with her brothers. A kinda scary polar bear. What do you mean kinda? Is this because she became more sexualized around this time? She hates Idate to death. In terms of personality, she's fairly stubborn. She's taking care of Mafuyu. A little seal girl. She doesn't speak much. Becoming lost, she drifted onto the island on an ice floe and was taken into care upon her arrival. A beastly snowman that would jump at any chance to torment. He is indescribably cruel in his passive-aggressive ways. His hobby is persistent verbal harassment on Shirogane. If you give him a flying kick, he will immediately disintegrate. An orca who loves violence. He loses his mind when he has used up all his cigarettes. He has an obsession with Rockma. Rock is his childhood friend. A penguin who is constantly in a foul mood. If you treat his head feathers as his eyebrows, he will fly into a frenzied rage, so definitely avoid doing that. His hobby is combing his head feathers. It seems like he takes out his frustration on Shirogane. Interestingly enough, the trophies page I mentioned earlier says some new things about certain characters. These go into more personal details about the characters that are otherwise not said anywhere else. And I don't know how many people know about this section since I barely seen anyone mentioning it. Shirogane, a crybaby wolf. He lets out some lovely cries apparently. Parako, an easygoing penguin. Skating is her specialty. Rockma, a calm and collected polar bear. Her claws are sharp, easily slicing through big chunks of solid ice. Mafuyu, a fluffy young seal. She rarely speaks, but apparently that's just a preference thing. Suno-san, a nasty snowman. If you try barbecuing nearby, he'll put up a fuss. Rock, a plump and supple penguin who is always angry. He's surprisingly kind when dealing with kids. It's a box of Mikan oranges. Rockma herself puts in the order for them, saying it's for Mafuyu's sake.
If I were to make a down quote of your feathers, I'm sure it would be great.
Saying this, Idate plucked out countless feathers from Yukisada. A nicotine orca's litter. As this destroys the island's scenic views, Rock gets insanely mad. While we are also on the topic of obscure facts about the game, it is somewhat known that Funamusea's works do not use unique music. She usually uses royalty-free music that comes with RPG Maker, or public music libraries, but would usually go on to be most known in the Funa games, I think. The only game where the tracks are not identified, however, is this game, where we don't know the track names or the artists, since there are no credits for the music. Mao Damashi, the composer that made the tracks Funa used in her other games, was credited in the special things, so there's a good chance that he had composed it. Also, there's this bug in the game where if you leave the game on for a while, part of the music cuts out for a little bit, always at this part of the song. You can tell that this is a reimagining of the original version, as it mixes together the events of Round 1 and 2. The island itself after the cutscene doesn't really change, however, so it is questionable how the events of the second watch are gonna go. Would it just create the events of Round 3? Would it just create brand new events that were never seen from the original version? Would it mix together both? Well, let us find out looking into the next watch. So this is where the story is currently at. For 4 entire years, the game has been untouched with fewer chapters than the original version. The events of Round 3 remain only in the original, most of it being on outdated media that has largely been forgotten. And even with Round 3, there hasn't been enough chapters to see any amount of character growth. Shirogane has been seen as a pussy for a decade, with no sign of redeeming himself anytime soon. Along with ice cream comes a few side things that may or may not have to do with the ice cream story. These could be various doodles or characters that are confirmed to have connection to the rest of the ice cream cast. First up is an official ice cream mini-comic that appeared on the website back when the web version first came out, called Orsinus Orca. This isn't really talked about in the fandom, and it isn't even shown on the wiki. Now I don't know if this is a CN exclusive, and I apologize if I'm accidentally leaking CN content with any of this, but the full comic is available on Wayback Machine, and I can find the translated version of this with a Google search.
Had to shoot your mans, I had no option. Had to fuck his bitch, I had no option.
It starts off with Parako and Shiro. seemingly trying to navigate their way back to the town after fishing. Shiro took her on a dangerous shortcut where orcas could appear, which... Yep, that's an orca. Rockma appears to try and fight off Idate as it depicts a battle between them. Rockma almost wins until she is thrown into the water, but Shiro... saves her? No fucking way. Shiro taking a dangerous shortcut and actually saving 2 people? The only time Shiro is empathetic. Oh my god! That'll be 500 yen. There's actually another mini-comic involving Rockma, Shiro, and Yuki. This is one of the only times I've ever seen Yuki talk like this. I don't know if there's any more panels, maybe the rest of this is on CN as well. I do like this art style though, especially how Yuki is drawn here. By the way, we aren't done talking about Idate just yet. No, I haven't even introduced you to his family yet. His parents aren't really talked about at all, even though they do exist. But they do have some information about them that can reveal who they are. Apparently, there's an entire city full of orcas where their parents reside in. Stop drilling to the thought of that. Idate also has a brother, Takama. And unlike Idate, he has a wife and kid. All this sexy man stats and he still hasn't gotten some pussy. If the wiki is true, he might have just lost his virginity to a twink wolf. Takama is a more refined person than Idate, acting like an older brother. He was less beaten by his parents than Idate since he behaved a lot better. Although he has a wife that seems to be perfectly fine, the truth is that the relationship is often abusive. Yeah, those scars are there for a reason. On their wedding night, Takama was shredded by her and got permanent scars because of this. Idate got freaked out. Takama has a daughter named Nagi, who is known to be obsessed about her uncle Idate. She holds the refined traits of Takama and the violent personality of her mother, as it shows in various drawings of her. Idate often hangs out with Nagi, but would be unaware of her obsession with him, treating her like an ordinary niece. Nagi gets frustrated about how he always treats her like a child compared to how he treats people like Rockma. This concept of the plot is actually planned to be its own game somewhere in the future named OG Summer. This will feature Nagi as the main character and will also involve Idate. Not much is known about the game, however. The only thing mentioned is that the potential bad ending of the game will involve her eating Idate. How ironic. Who else am I forgetting? Oh yeah, the gay whale. This is Gris, a gray sperm whale. Currently his only existence is to crush Idate, to which he is clearly not interested in. Apparently, according to Funa, due to the existence of Gris, Idate is not a full top. It was also mentioned that Gris can kabedon Idate due to the height difference. But geez, Idate is already like 6'2", I cannot imagine the vertical potential of Gris. If I really want to stretch this video out, I could talk about all the internet discourse surrounding this game. Like shipping characters together, people wanting to fuck all the characters, this. All this side stuff makes me think about the potential of Ice Cream. Some of these characters are relatively new up to the release of the remake, so clearly Funa has some stuff planned for the new chapters. I wonder what else we could find to know about where the story is gonna go. Even though we don't have a second watch to analyze, there have been several info drops from Funamusea about her works, including Ice Cream. These have been said mostly on her live streams, and while Okegum Wiki takes all the information as facts, I am to believe that all of these are to be taken with a grain of salt. Look, I live stream, I find it hard to keep track of everything that I say within every single stream, especially doing them since my debut. I know I am prone to telling information that I either go back on with time, or even sometimes just say the wrong information, just because I couldn't think about it well enough on the spot. I'm sure that Funa has slipped up at least once about certain information. We are humans by the end of the day. So just keep that in mind while I'm saying this, because Funa could change anything at any point for her future additions to Ice Cream. So with that out of the way, I have found various details from different places that could lead to future events taking place in the plot. Yes, I really did look at every single line of dialogue in both iterations of the game, and yes, I did go through as many livestream archives from the wiki as my attention span can handle. So without further ado, here are my finds for what I think could happen in Ice Cream. Obviously, if we take a look at the latest chapter in the story, we can make out what might happen in the next chapter. Rockma seems to appear on top of the summer for the only time in the story, watching for something. This might have to do with Idate, as he seems to be plotting something. He won't approach the island's center. Why? To be continued. If only. For some reason, Squid is just flailing around. I assume he will do something in the next chapter instead of just being there. At Rock's house, these bunnies are apparently asking for the best way to lynch an orca. I don't know if this is important, since we don't know how involved these bunnies are going to be in the main story. But hey, something could happen with this. In only round 1 of the original, and watch 1 of the remake, multiple houses mention this underground cellar that apparently holds a secret passage. Obviously, this was never used at any point in the story thus far, so this would definitely come up later in the story. Interestingly, the cellars only appear in Parako and Rock's house. meaning that the two have something going on with each other. It is never shown in game of them interacting with each other, but it was confirmed that they are indeed friends. They are both penguins after all. Even weirder is that Parako and Rock's house are the only houses that contain this mysterious flower. Rock's looking like it is just a normal houseplant, and Parako's looking like an actual flower. I don't actually know if Rock's is a flower or not, since in the remake, it is referred to as a strange grass. VG Person, the translator of the original Ice Cream, has had instances of mistranslations in Funamusea media, but this instance is really minor, assuming that these are going to be used for the same purpose. This appears in every version and chapter of the game, all having a different line of dialogue with each chapter. In round 1, both of them are referred to as mysterious flowers, with no additional description. In round 2, Parako's flower says, "As rumor has it, it moves during the night," and Rock's flower says, "It's gotta bloom someday." In round 3, Parako's flower says, "Just what could it be for?" while Rock's flower says, "Everything about it is mystery." Meanwhile, in Watch 1 of the remake, they are referred to as strange, with Rock's strange grass having additional dialogue saying, "Occasionally it seems to bloom." With the heavy emphasis of hinting of these flowers in their house, it is to believe that they would likely play an important part of the story later on, as these are seemingly the only objects that have something different to say despite staying in the same place for the entire story. On the topic of Parako, her character description in the original version of Ice Cream mentions that she is very lucky, which is strange to hear as we have never encountered an event that truly shows off her luck. More strange as it isn't ever mentioned again after that, as the new description doesn't say it at all. It is also worth mentioning that Parako's dad might play a part in the story as well, since the phone just randomly showed up in the remake, and Rock is apparently friends with him. In round 2 and 3 of the original, an arrow appears on this random box on top of the fridge in Rock's house, always reading as 3 question marks. This does appear everywhere else, even in the remake, but weirdly enough doesn't have the arrow. As I said before, Rock does have a humanoid form, but never shows it in the Ice Cream plot to this point, except a silhouette in this character description of the remake. There's actually a sprite in the game's files that exists, that isn't used in the game though. I have the feeling that he most likely will transform at some point, likely revealing the reason why he doesn't like to be in that form. In round 2 of the original only, there's a fin that appears in the shore near the wharf, being unknown whose fin it is. It isn't Hidate's as he's still in the Orchid Danger Zone, smoking his new pack of parliaments. There are several houses in the town that you can't enter, likely houses of characters that have yet to be seen in the game. On the east side of the island near the squid, there seems to be 3 structures that are never mentioned at all. Strangely enough, in the remake, there's only 1 structure in that area. For some reason, there's a heavy mention of Ni no Kuni in the remake of the story, being mentioned in the intro, Rock's house, and with Hidate's Sig, as it is likely that they are just lines referencing characters and places from other media. It leaves me to wonder how involved the sea is with Ni no Kuni. Satanic did have a part in creating this specific sea after all, and Hidate is shown being friends with Satanic in some art, so maybe it is a hint that he or an affiliate of his might appear. I don't know. According to Funa, she has plans to set up explorable rooms throughout the remake, including a basement. I assume that these would be rooms he could actually walk around in, seemingly with Shiro. According to the wiki, Nagi is supposed to appear in the game. It isn't known what role she is supposed to play in the story so far. Apparently she already is in the game. Yeah, that unknown fin near the wharf in round 2. Yup, that's supposed to be her. Shiromo is probably gonna appear in the game. She is a snow witch, who is in the background of one of the flashbacks in Wanonohara. That's all we know about her. Gris is supposed to make an appearance in the game according to the wiki as well. According to some people, it is speculated that the little shack on the side of the island is his. The remake mentions the existence of Yukisada's brother multiple times during the game. Yukisada has a little brother? Yes, this is Yukiyoshi, Yukisada's canonical little brother, said to be an Ice Cream. This was drawn on a live stream on January 23rd, 2021, and is a character still missing from the official character page. You could probably tell based on his looks, but his personality is very polar opposite to Yukisada, a Shadow the Hedgehog kind of deal. This is basically Yuki's evil twin who is probably in an emo chud. Even though he apparently doesn't even live on Iceberg Isle, he's constantly questioning why he cares for Shiro so much. While there's some jealousy at play, it is also implied to be because he finds Shirogane extremely pathetic. Interesting. As far as my attention span goes, that is all I can find with this. There's not much else to spread about the topic of what will happen next. We can speculate all we want, but at the end of the day, there isn't that much to talk about until we get a new chapter. Which... As you can tell, a lot has happened over the past 4 years since this has come out. Not only with the world, but Funamusea herself as well. She has gotten herself into family debt and numerous controversies surrounding her and her works. The worst part is, there haven't been any games that have been released since Ice Cream. Any media to be exact. And to put the bitter cherry on top, Funa had recently announced that she would officially be taking a break on game development for the time being. That, and she had quietly removed all the links to the translations of her works off her website. She had threatened to stop catering to overseas audiences twice before, but I believe that she is now going through with this decision. Let's say that all of this controversy never happened. No threats to stop catering overseas, no debt, nothing. Would there even be a hint of any new content for this game? If we go to the other newest story released around the same time, Seaside Dispatches 2, you can see that, holy shit, this has so much depth to this. As you can probably tell within the last few years, Funa has been very interested with the progression of Satanivolus. Wadanohara has been a pivotal point with her works, proving that she can make a good story. And since then, she has been trying to use her skills to create a branch of stories between Ivalice and Satanic and their relationship. The Sun's Curse, Seaside Dispatches 1, Seaside Dispatches 2, Seaside Dispatches 2.5, okay, I'm not even gonna attempt to fucking pronounce these. All of the little mini comics featuring them, fucking Devil Girl Evelyn. Aside from a few things released here and there, nothing really has that much depth as Ivalice's asshole and how much dick he has taken. Genital modification. Being a devil, he is able to modify his genitalia. Why do demons have it so fucking good? Until more content for this game releases. Ice Cream has always felt like a fun side project and an excuse to jolly Date beating up people, and Shiro getting beaten up by people. Even if we do get out of this hellhole, and Funa gets back to doing what she likes doing with nothing bad happening to her in the community, I don't think the first thing she would work on is Ice Cream. Probably something Satanivolus related, maybe Hashasky, maybe even Carnival Rhythm, but Ice Cream would probably be a stretch. So, this is what we are going to be left with for the foreseeable future. It bites, especially because we're just left on an eternal cliffhanger before really any of the plot escalated. I'm thankful that we even got to see some of it, but I'm just left in an unsatisfied state wanting to find out what happens next. This is a very unique idea that still has so much potential. Characters from this title turn out to be some of the most favorite, having their personalities being expanded upon with the few chapters that are out at this moment. It is stories like this where we could see some of the most relatable traits of these characters to us. Ice Cream, especially during its initial run, was such a unique project that has never been seen before, experimenting with more animation and more character dynamics. The animation made for Ice Cream alone was such an underrated piece that already feels like a treat for us fans to enjoy, but could be expanded upon to be something amazing. I wholeheartedly believe that more of these animations like this can put Funa back on the spotlight, along with making another game. We actually get to see this world and the daily lives of these people, and more of how they are. Sure, it probably won't be as deep as a story as the others, but it doesn't have to be. Maybe someday we'll get to see the ending of Ice Cream, but even if it doesn't, I think me and the fandom will still get enjoyment out of this game. I remember scrolling through the old Funa website and seeing this post dated August 18, 2012, which I think sums up this whole thing pretty well. Why is he wearing the cloak halfway? It seems to make him feel safe, like a child wrapped in a blanket. Will there ever come a day when this cowardly guy throws away his cloak? Unfortunately, that will never happen. Funa has been in a rough spot, but would always be able to pick herself back up soon after. This time, however, is different. Bad event after bad event after bad event. Recently, I had seen a post on her Misskey account, really the only account that she truly talks on now. The Japanese roughly translates to this: I've lost more than I've gained in the last 10 years, so I'm at a loss to say that I've seriously wasted my time. Life, you know, can't be replaced by anything. 10 years, from 2014 to 2024. If we go back to the previous 10 years, 2004 to 2014, it really does make sense why she would say that. That decade saw the creation of her website, her Yumaniki fan art, the creation of her original characters, Mogeko Castle, the Grey Garden, Wadanohara and the Great Blue Sea, and if we're talking 10 years to the current day, we can count Mogeko Castle Remake, Garden Grey The, and lastly, Ice Cream. As much as we can assume what had happened, why it went so wrong for over a decade, that would just be diving more into her personal life, which I can assume she doesn't want to give out, especially now. Maybe her thoughts and experiences align with some of ours. People can't just say the last decade has been dogshit for no reason. Funamusea, in the very off chance that you are watching this and have gotten this far into the video, I will say this on behalf of me and all of your fans. You and your works have touched and inspired so many people, not only from your art style, but your characters, your personal spin on your works, and your storytelling with them, which I feel no one else can recreate. It's unfortunate to see that the internet has turned this toxic of a place for you to be you, and that people actively demotivate you just because they don't like some of your art, to the extent of trying to deplatform you entirely. These people don't matter by the end of the day. The people that do are us fans that understand and will support you no matter what. Even us overseas fans will still support you after we've been cut off. Please stay safe and strong out there, whatever you're up to right now. I hope that it is only uphill from here. 2024 has been an insane year to say the least, in ways that most of us could have never imagined. In a lot of ways, this year has been disastrous. I'm going back home. I just feel as if I need to step in to make people happier with these videos. You know, no matter how bad it gets, if I actually am blacklisted from the fandom or not, nothing is going to stop me from bringing new ideas to the community, maybe some that could actually benefit them. I will always have an insane obsession over Funamusea's works, and that won't go away anytime soon. I will live and die for this shit no matter how bad my life gets. My girlfriend left me and I am being evicted from my home. I have the feeling that I'm not going to financially support myself, especially looking at the price of my McDonald's order. But guess who got a Shio keychain?